Hey, I'm NichBoy and welcome to Pocket. And today I'm going to move all this stuff out of the way and Hex is going to join me to debrief about her trip to E3. Hex, welcome home.
Thanks.
Are you awake?
Yeah, I will be. I'm not wearing a watch, but I will be until about 5 and then I will pass out. So if we get this done before 5, it'd be great.
Let's wrap this up then.
I will just be unconscious on the couch.
So you going over there, you're going over there not as just a fan, but as a worker. A worker bee.
A worker bee.
What's the experience of going to something like E3 with a mission?
E3 began as a trade show for retailers. So it was like, put on to be able to sort of show buyers what
their
games
wares.
to buy. Yeah. And then it ended up they kind of realized the benefit of getting media and journalists there so they could play the games and write about them and get other people excited about buying them and things like that. So going over there as games media is about having interviews set up and appointments and specific time slots where someone is going to be able to give you an allotted time to experience the game properly rather than just kind of watching demos and lining up. I mean, there's all of that there as well. You can line up and play games and watch demos and all that kind of stuff.
But you have appointments.
It's more facilitated this way.
Was it well facilitated?
Oh yeah, I think this is my third E3, but the show has been many times, and I think each year you get a little bit better at it.
Because you're also dragging around a TV crew.
Yeah, that's right. And so, for a bit of context, the LA Convention Center is like 2 giant shopping malls next to each other, joined by a bunch of footbridges. Yeah. So if you don't plan it well and you have an interview here, and then you've got another interview there, like 5 minutes later, it's going to take you 20 minutes to get from one to the other. Like it's that kind of situation. You need to plan all of your day around, and obviously we're lugging like huge amounts of equipment.
What is it like actually being there? Because when we're watching it, we see the trailers and stuff, and we hear just sort of like applause and occasionally a cheer or something. But it's a bunch of sort of games professionals sitting in an audience, reporting on things, but then all of a sudden trailers come up and everyone starts losing their mind and like freaking out.
Yeah, well, it's funny because we spoke to a few of the developers and the sort of heads of these publishers about this, and there is an element of tension as well based on the competition between particularly Sony and Xbox. And, well, everyone really. Yeah. If somebody says something or they debut something and there's only a smattering of applause, you can just feel the failure in the room. It's full on. But by the same token, there are some moments that are just so funny. Like, for example, when Microsoft debuted that Elite controller. Yeah. And there was like smoke machines and lasers and lights and strobe, and everyone's like, yeah! And they're like, this whole like trailer of it spinning around, they're like interchangeable buttons, and they're like, oh my God. And I was sitting there and I was like, guys, it's a controller. Like, I'm excited, but there's thousands of people sitting in this room who are all watching. Like, it's just so funny sometimes these kind of tech demos of stuff. It just seems a bit surreal, But it is also really exciting, particularly, like when we saw all of when Fallout 4 was announced and they took us through everything that was going to be, that they showed us in the game, and then all the extra peripherals, all that kind of stuff. Like, it was really, really exciting, and just to hear the love and everyone's reaction to every little thing that they showed you. Yeah. They design it very well to be like, and then this is going to happen, and then this is going to happen, and did you want this? We're going to do 10 of these. People just get like, so the energy in the room is really exciting.
And were there some moments where the crowd sort of didn't freak out about a controller?
Yeah, it's hard. Obviously the big announcements are the ones that get the most excitement out of people. So anytime it's sort of like, and an expansion for this game is coming, people are like, yeah, okay. Yeah. Or that Shenmue thing was really weird.
That was really weird.
And there was a good response to it at first because there's a lot of Shenmue fans
like in the crowd.
Yeah. But then it was kind of like, the penny kind of dropped that it was a Kickstarter thing. And
they did the big countdown.
Yeah, which I was confused. At the time I was like, what are we counting down to? Yeah. And they were like, 3, 2, 1.
More controllers?
And I was like, what just happened? Like, what? Did something go live? And then it was the Kickstarter.
That website to take your money went live.
Yeah, so that was a weird moment, I would definitely say. That was strange.
And so who then puts on the best show just in terms of like an audience member?
I feel like it depends what you would count as the best show. For me, I think like Bethesda may not have had the most bells and whistles, but they definitely had the least amount of bull.
Yeah, and also like because they had less product to show, they could show more of the product.
Yeah, there was no like smoke machines and lasers or anything, but they it was just games, and that I think a lot of people really appreciated that. Yeah. Ubisoft is always probably the worst. They're just really, really awkward. They had Jason Derulo, and they had this woman who's lovely, but she just, I don't know, she just doesn't translate well to gamers, I don't think. And so it always generally comes down to Xbox and Sony, and I don't know. It's I think Xbox really wowed us all with the HoloLens demo, I think.
Yeah, that was amazing.
New technology that was really exciting, and seeing that whole Minecraft demo on stage, I mean, we were just kind of losing it. My mouth was like open. I was like, I want to do that right now. And then Sony, you know, they had this amazing kind of wraparound stage that's really, really cool. And, you know, they had some beautiful games there as well. So I don't know. It depends. I think probably Microsoft had the best kind of flow.
Yeah, cool.
And they kind of built the best, you know, kind of presentation overall.
Yeah. And so then moving from like the press conferences to the show floor, how packed and insane is it? Because we saw your sort of videos and you're always getting like jostled and told to get out of the way and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. There's a lot of people there. They also opened it up to the public, I think.
Yeah.
They had a select maybe like 5,000 people in total, which in the scheme of things I don't think is really that much. Like I didn't notice any more or less people there this year. The problem is that we always have heaps of interviews lined up, so it's not like I can spend a lot of time in queues and stuff lining up to play games and things like that.
So you just, are you cutting ahead of people or is there like separate areas?
We kind of do that. Sometimes we have to sort of, we'll get in with the PR people and be like, hey, sorry, let's look at the TV camera, you know.
It's like awesome but awkward.
Very important.
Yeah, right.
You can just see people are burning like death gazes into my back. I'm like, hey, so I'll be really quick.
But something else I'm interested in is the VR stuff, because it's so hard to demo unless you're the HoloLens and you kind of do it really well. Was there something in particular that blew you away with that?
HoloLens I was really excited after, especially after seeing that press conference, to actually experience. I didn't get to do any of that manipulation that we saw in the presentation, which I was disappointed about, because I feel like that's where the technology is going to be really interesting, and I don't know how well that works outside of that.
And that's
demo.
where like the game part is as well, because otherwise it's just like a bit of a sort of, it's almost like a second screen experience sort of thing.
The Project Morpheus was the other one that I spent a lot of time with, and the experiences that I had were quite polarizing.
Yeah, didn't you get like stabbed in the tum-tum?
Yeah, well the first one that I played was like a kid's game, and this was probably the best application of the technology I think I've seen so far, and it was just, I could just see kids really getting into it. You looked down. The coolest thing about it was you're in the body of a dinosaur, and like I had a tail that you could see out the back, and I would look down and I saw my body, and it was kind of an on-rails thing where you're kind of using your head to sort of smash through buildings and stuff like that. And then there was a cool multiplayer element where other people can use controllers and they can see your representation on the screen and try and shoot little things at you, and you have to try and dodge them. So what you're seeing, what you're seeing and what they're seeing, it matches up, and it was really clever. So I was like, oh, that was really lovely, and they're like, cool, come sit down, and this was, and they put these two games in the same room, you know, I think on purpose. So I was like, that was so great. Wow, my niece is gonna love that. I love being a dinosaur. That was so fun. And I sat down and I was like, cool, what's this about? And suddenly my hands are cable tied together, and I'm in a room that's covered in blood. There's a guy that's like screaming on the floor over there, and there's a crazy woman like from the Ring or something with a knife, and she starts like stabbing the crap out of him. And then she starts stabbing the crap out of me, and I'm like, oh God, get me out.
I don't think I could handle that.
It was crazy.
I want the kids' dinosaur game.
A really great demonstration of how that technology will apply to horror games, I think.
Yes.
And those, I think there were two really good examples, because at the moment, so far, I think VR has only seemed like it's going to be good for, you know, cockpit-based games like, flight.
Yeah, Elite Dangerous and that sort of thing.
Yeah, which I think is fine, and it still will be. But this was the first time I've experienced VR in two very different applications that I think will be quite cool.
Yeah. Okay, so then what would you say was your gamer show? Like, what got you most excited about you either played or saw and you want it right now?
So Dreams, which would have been so great to be able to talk to someone about, but we couldn't. It just looked, I had so many questions about it.
So many questions,
after seeing that, so I was really excited about it and I wanted to have a go. And also, Recore looks amazing.
Yep. I'm so excited for that.
And
I'm so excited for
Horizon looks really incredible as well.
And that was my gamer show.
It was really exciting to see so many like lead female protagonists. We saw that in Dishonored 2 as well.
What I also really liked was there were lots of female protagonists. There were lots of women on stage.
Playing the games. And talking about them.
They weren't just like handing a controller to someone. But none of the companies really made a huge deal out of it.
No.
And I was like, now you're learning that you don't need a prize for doing it.
Yeah.
It just should be there. And it doesn't need to be a big deal. It could just be a thing that exists because it does.
It was great. And we spoke to Phil Spencer about that. And I was, I put the question to him. I was like, was this a deliberate thing? We saw a lot of women in your showcase. And he was just like, I'll be honest, we opened the show with a woman and I thought that was a really cool thing to do. But beyond that, it was just kind of the way it happened.
Yeah.
It's just these women were involved in the games, and these were the people to do it, and it was just. It wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, and I think that,
right on.
that was great.
Right on.
But I'm so excited for Horizon. I think that the whole world looks amazing.
It does.
The gameplay looks really cool.
And just the mix of that kind of organic world with technology
Yeah, and a bow and arrow. It's like Tomb Raider in the future past.
And cool, like the way they've kind of embraced some of that electrical technology, but then they seem like really earthy, cool people.
So Record, Horizon.
Tomb Raider. I'm a huge fan of Tomb Raider,
same.
and I'm huge. So there was some big new IP announcements that were really exciting, but then of course things like Fallout 4 and Tomb Raider and Uncharted, like those are franchises that I just love. So it's hard not to be super excited about those as well.
Yeah, I'm pumped. Okay, so you're back now. You've got like a week's worth of hardcore footage, and you've got an hour-long TV show to make for next week. How do you do that?
Yeah, it's crazy. So everyone in the office is like, action team E3 Force episode, good game, let's go.
Yeah.
And everyone has to basically get through all this footage together. It's a big group effort.
We were just in a meeting where it was like everyone just gets doled out cards to transcribe.
Yeah,
and stuff.
transcribe it all. So everything that everyone said, we have to write all that down and then pick out the bits that are going to be good and what's worth using. And we don't shoot anything in any particular order, so we've just got in between interviews is just like random stuff of B-roll. So we have to go through, find all those moments and try and craft some kind of sort of through line, some story out of this kind of mess of footage.
All right, Hex, well, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
You've got a huge amount of work to do.
I do.
And make sure you check out Good Game Tonight, because I was actually sitting in your chair.
It's a good chair, isn't it?
It was a good chair, and Bajo and I looked at Ark Survival Evolved and Batman. Check out the Batman. But look, go get back to work. No, now. Just leave.
Okay.
Go.
I thought this...
You've got a giant show to make, ready? Until tomorrow, NichBoy out.